everyone, and welcome back to Cooking with Big Mark.
Good day, folks. If in case you're in a jam, we're going to talk about jams and cool jams, actually called freezer jams. And this is the in the harvest season when all the fruits, and especially in the Northeast here, where we're still having temperatures in the 70s. The summer and early fall have been elongated now, and people are still harvesting things with no freeze, and not even freeze in sight from the looks of it. So these are called freezer jams, and what it comes down to is taking fruit that is perfectly ripe now at the end of the season and making jams or jellies out of it. Now, the difference between jam and jelly: jams have pieces of fruit in it, and chunks of fruit, whereas the jelly is usually just the juice, the very small puree of the fruits after they do either put it through a food mill or they call it China cap, which is like a fine strainer. And you put that in, and you extract the juice, and that's what you use to make jelly. However, this process, and I'll mention why I explained the freezer aspect, but this is a method of doing this. It's a no-cook method. There's no water bath. There's no cooking utensils and all this paraphernalia, is what I'm trying to say. I'm getting caught up in two things there that you need to do it. Sealing, wax sealing jars. You have to tongs and all this stuff. It's a big process. In the old days, it took quite a while to do it, and people would dedicate whole weeks to doing canning at the harvest season, so they have the vegetables and fruits all year long. So all you really need for this is you need the fruit, and you need sugar, and you need some pectin. Now, a lot of the stone fruits have pectin in the skin, but most of the berries, like strawberries, raspberries, don't have it, so you have to use pectin. But you can buy pectin. They have it little packages, 1.75 ounces, and there's also a liquid pectin you can get as well. So you have the pectin, 3/4 a cup of water, and you just take a bowl and you put 2 cups of fruit, and you don't want to puree it like in a food processor, because you want the chunks. But you could use a food processor if you just hit it, jig a couple of times so it stays fairly intact. But a lot of people just use a potato masher and just use that for it. So it's 2 cups of whatever ripe fruit you're going to use, 4 cups of sugar, 1.75 ounces of pectin, and 3/4 a cup of water. And you put the fruit in the bowl, you add the sugar, and let it macerate, probably for up to an hour, so the juice can infiltrate everything, and the sugar will draw the juices out, which of course enhances the flavor. And then some people will take the water, put it in the pan, and warm it up, and add the pectin to it so it's dissolved, and then just stir it in. That's all. A big thing to do is just stir it in, and keep stirring after you add the pectin, because sometimes it'll congeal quickly and get little globules in the process. So what you want to do is keep stirring it so that so it stays nice and smooth. Then all you do is take a clean jar, pour it into it, as many jars as you want to do, as many fruits as you want to do, and you want to leave it out at room temperature for about 12 hours. And then at that point, you can either refrigerate it, and it'll last in the refrigerator up to 3 weeks, or freeze it. And that's where the freezer jam comes in. People just freeze it right in the jars, and then in the wintertime, in February, if you have a yearning for some nice fresh fruit compote of some kind, you can just take it out, thaw it, take it out a day ahead, thaw it out, let it up slowly in the refrigerator, and you get a beautiful essence of jams and things that you've done yourself with very little fuss, with very little work, hard work at least. And I think it'd be worthwhile. It will not sometimes be as viscous as some of the jams you get, but that's all right. All you're doing is spreading, thinly on toast or pancakes or toppings for ice cream and everything else. So I just thought, going back to the old pioneering days when our forebears used to spend weeks, if not months, a month probably, during certain times of year, but during the, canning for the whole year. This is just a simple, easy process. It takes you about a half hour, if that, and you get something that is, very fruity and fresh, tasting like a summer experience in the middle of winter, and with very little fuss and muss. So a lot of people would not do that. Many people don't have the fruits to do it, but I just thought it was something interesting, and certainly taking an old-fashioned work ethic that used to go on, which no longer has to be done the same way. So that's it. Freeze the jams.
If you're going to freeze it, do you still leave it out for the 12-hour period prior?
Yeah, yes, you do. You leave that, whether you refrigerate it or freeze it, you want to leave it out for 12 hours. I guess what that does is, I don't know, it helps to solve it, builds up the flavor, or the pectin, develops more viscosity. That might be the reason for it.
Okay, which would be stopped by putting it in a colder environment.
Yeah, and so what you want to do also, leave, when you put it in the jar, leave about a half an inch, because obviously when it freezes, it's going to expand a little bit as well. But it's a simple process, and if you have stores or running specials on fruits or farm stands or anything, it's kind of a fun thing to do. It's a great thing for the kids to do, because it's so simple. And
do you still sterilize the jars?
No, you don't have to. Just clean them.
Okay.
Just clean with soap and water. They said, that's all. Just dry them. But no, you don't have to sterilize it, because again, it's not going to. If it's just sitting on the counter, then in the refrigerator for 2.5 to 3 weeks, there's not going to be any time to develop anything in that cold atmosphere. And certainly in the freezer, it's not going to be able to develop anything either. So you're not worried about sterilization as you were with the other one. That's the hot baths, and they, the tongs, and drop it down into the boiling water and then put it down in sealing wax.
Because of course those would be kept at room temperature, and you have to
Correct.
go through those precautions because of that.
Yep, absolutely. That was in those days, that was very beneficial, because we did not have the refrigeration capacity that we have now, and certainly not the freezer capacity. So that's why that was necessary, and why fermentation, we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, was necessary dealing with a lot of
as well as a mode of preservation. Very interesting. Thank you. The wine that I'm going to do today is kind of a fun oddity, but also a really good wine. You recognize the label, I imagine.
No, Chateau Guiraud.
The from Sauternes, but this is a dry wine made from the same grapes, Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc. I believe that Chateau d'Yquem was the first major producer of Sauternes to make a dry wine, their Y in 1959, but other estates have followed suit. This is Guiraud's G, and there's also from Chateau Sec, another Sauternes producer there, So you can see it's a lovely kind of pale gold, and this wine is picked when the grapes are at maturity, but they take care to make sure they don't pick any grapes that have gone through botrytis, because that would of course be saved for the flagship wine.
I was going to ask you. So these, is it the same grape that's used in the Chateau d'Yquem? Sauternes.
There could be grapes from a single bunch that were both, but generally speaking, they're picking them separately.
But the noble rot does not take place anywhere near it. Then.
Right, they would not want that, because that you couldn't make it a balanced dry wine. But the grapes are very mature, so you do get a rich wine, but it's also a dry wine. And you certainly, especially the acidity in Sauvignon Blanc, the two grapes are Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon, will give it a lot of vivacity and play against whatever sugar content remains. So it has a kind of lovely sour aroma, like some of those, like a lychee almost, and also some more conventional descriptors, green apple. On the palate, you get some great acidity, but it's balanced. And that creaminess that you associate with Semillon. So this would be really a wonderful wine with richer white meat dishes. Be very good with quail, rich preparation of chicken. It could stand up to because of the acidity in the body. And really quite a fun wine and a great example of, if you know a Chateau of high repute or, a winemaker of great repute, their wines are going to be good regardless of, whether it's their traditional flagship, i.e. Sauterne, very sweet honeyed wine, or a dry wine made with the same grapes. So this has been Cooking with Big Mark. Thank you all for tuning in. And remember, you can see us on WinCam. Thank you, Dad.
You're welcome. Thank you.